Hello, everyone. So, today I will be going over all the books I read in January. There are 11 total. The first was The Elusive Purple Gang. This is a book about organized crime in Detroit, specifically around the era of Prohibition. Very good read by a guy who used to be local. 50 Ways to a Safer World. This was actually taken from the library at the place that I work. I work alongside a lot of social workers, and they have their own literature section on the second floor. Really just a sweet book about safety and children's safety and even adult safety and everything like that. The Myth of Sisyphus. This was a deep read. This is Albert Camus, for my father there, who corrected my pronunciation. The Myth of Sisyphus is about taking on the issue of suicide in modern society. Um, Heavy read. Strongly recommend, but do be warned if you know somebody who committed suicide, this could be a bit of a sensitive topic for you. Grinding it out. So, like a lot of people growing up in America, my first job, actual job where I got a paycheck and everything, was working at McDonald's. And this is the autobiography of Ray Kroc, the person who franchised most of those McDonald's and in time became its owner. There was a pretty good movie. I generally don't recommend movies, but The Founder was a good movie. Uh, it starred Michael Keaton as Ray Kroc. Very interesting stuff here. This book is extremely quick read considering it's a business exec's autobiography. In my experience, they tend to be a bit full of themselves. Chariots of the Gods. This is a book by Eric von Daniken that popularized the concept of ancient astronauts, which then is now called ancient aliens. Interesting stuff. The book starts off with some interesting observations about ancient civilizations, but it's not long before it goes to utter, bat crap crazy. Thus spoke Zarathustra. This was a good month for philosophy reads, I guess. And hey, it's January and full winter force has hit Michigan here. I'll tell you that much. So also Sprach Zarathustra is an interesting book. It's an allegorical fiction book by Friedrich Nietzsche, but he lays out a lot of his beliefs. Lake Monsters and Odd Creatures of the Great Lakes. This author was supposed to speak at an event that I was going to, but that got canceled and pushed to March. But uh, semi-interesting read. I will say this though: the pictures and graphics are pretty bad. Dinotopia. So shout out to my friend Coco. She had recommended She recommended this year that I try to read more feel-good books. Now, art has many purposes, and art's job is not always to make you feel good. But certainly that is its job some of the time. And so I took that to heart and I read this Dinotopia, A Land Apart from Time. Great art in this book, but also, if you bother to pay attention, some really good writing. The Gardner Heist. So I'm actually the organizer of a true crime book club, and the Gardner Heist was huge, man. It is, I believe, still to date the largest theft in terms of monetary value of stuff stolen, because the paintings that were taken on the market, I think, have been appraised at $500 million total. And no idea who committed the crime. I have my own theories, but I'm not going to go really deep into that. This was a good book and actually published by the Smithsonian Books, so it's accurate. Havana Nocturne. Boy, this one feels like it's been on my radar forever, but for those of you who might not know, this is all about the story of the mob and as it was being built up and as it was built into the recreation of Havana. And this is prior to Fidel Castro taking over Cuba. So, in other words, most of this happens under the regime of Fulgencio Batista, I think is how it's pronounced. A very interesting story, of course. This book is very heavy on Meyer Lansky, who sometimes is overshadowed by his peers in terms of underworld corruption. History Will Absolve Me. I actually found this book by accident. History Will Absolve Me is I found out about it when I read Havana Nocturne, which basically just means Havana Night. And History Will Absolve Me is a phrase that Fidel Castro used when he was actually about to be exiled and he went before a special tribunal for crimes against the state. It's written by somebody who is a former CIA analyst, claims to have been CIA's top guy for analyzing Cuba. This is some pretty interesting stuff. It is not. It is not the actual speech he gave at his special tribunal. I've been trying to track that down because that's titled "History Will Absolve Me" as well. This is not that. This was a quick and easy read for somebody who wants to know about Castro and his regime from the intelligence side. And trust me, they did some pretty. When I say they, what I mean is the Cuban government did some really interesting stuff during the Cold War. Military adventures abroad, and they were able to get around and sometimes show up our own intelligence apparatus. So pretty interesting stuff overall. Thank you.